Omlia Iridium, they're here. Again, your weekly dose of, well, I don't know, I want to do a dose, maybe is the wrong word, because that could mean something else. Your weekly dose of Dominic and Jam, the Iridiates, they're here. How you doing, guys?
Thank
you.
Good, everyone's okay?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. So we're here for All Killer, obviously. We're up to 1995. And, well, it's becoming a little bit more difficult. And even in the years to come, we've been speaking, and we'll speak about that later on maybe, but we might have to cut a couple of tracks off in the next few years. But for this year, we're still at 12. That is right, isn't it?
It has gone a bit back and forth, but yes, I think we're still at 12 at the moment.
Because I find it interesting looking forward. I was getting a bit worried about and excited in a way of what's coming in the next few years. So for the first time ever, I looked at 96, and my 96 is completed. And the difficulty I'm having now, you know, of having to swap stuff around and change, and it's becoming a lot more regular. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, but there's still some great tracks here. And for me, again, this is another list where there's some stuff on here that I haven't heard before. So I had to go but I knew I'd like that band, parts of it. So I've had to go back and listen to stuff I've never heard, which is good, which is really good. Or almost refresh myself on stuff that I've forgotten about. But it's a real mixture of everything, really, my list. So it's stuff that I know off by heart, which is, you know, and it's stuff that not so much. But it's good. It's good. It makes for a bit of work, though. But, you know, it's good, though.
What you going to do?
Exactly. So 1995 is the odd year, which means Dominic's going
to... odd. That's right.
Exactly. That's how I remember it now. He's the oddest person.
No, that's fine. I prefer to be odd.
Exactly.
All right. So number one for me is Fight, second album called A Small Deadly Space, which, as we all know, is Rob Halford's offshoot after Priest. While I loved War of Words, it was very kind of, I mean, it was a statement of intent. You know, it was very kind of Pantera, just in your face all the time, 100%, you know, into the pit and all that kind of stuff. Nail to the gun and everything. This one is a bit, they've calmed down a little bit, and it's a bit more varied, like a Judas Priest record would be. You know, Judas Priest they've never been just full on ball to the wall metal, maybe pain and stuff. But you know, throughout their career, they've always done ballads, and they've always done slower songs and stuff. This Fight album is a bit more like that. It's a bit more varied. I probably prefer it, to be honest. This is the opening track, obviously. It's called I Am Alive. Really, you know, he's still singing great, and the band is kind of young and hungry. So, it's, you know, there's different sounds that he's singing over that necessarily aren't sound. So it's interesting listen, and it's a good song. I think a lot of people know the first Fight album, but kind of by the second one, nobody else is really paying attention. So if you're a fan of Halford's and still the metal stuff, I'm not saying it's really alternative or anything, and nothing like that Trent Reznor album he made. It's still a good one, so check it out if you like Fight, Small Deadly Space.
I know that he went a bit. I mean, I have seen a video of him with Sebastian Bach. I don't know if you've seen it. Was it on MTV where he sort of went for he almost looked like he was going to rap for a minute.
Yeah. He's got like his jean shorts and his
Yeah. It wasn't a good look. But I mean, he obviously doesn't give a fuck about what he wears anyway, does he? I mean, that's one good. That's one thing you'd say about Rob
Halford. At the time, everybody was trying to stay relevant, you know. So he's just doing what the kids do. He was.
Yeah, I agree. Good one, mate. Okay, what you got then, Jam, for your number one?
Well, yeah, 95. I was quite surprised within the height of obviously metal changing and perhaps becoming less popular and all that. But on my list, I've got some of the big classic bands from the 80s on it, which I was quite surprised. So we'll start with one of those, and it's one of the biggest ones. And that's Iron Maiden from the X Factor album. First album with Blaze Bayley, of course. Now, obviously, this gets a little bit sticky. People don't like Blaze Bayley. I mean, I'm a massive Wolfsbane fan, as you'll know from watching this. So I was quite happy when he was in the band. I'd rather Bruce stayed, but that wasn't the case. It wasn't like they kicked him out for Blaze Bayley. It wasn't his fault. should be given a go. Unfortunately, though, as I think Lee mentioned last time, and I think we all agree that the last two Iron Maiden albums before this weren't particularly good anyway. So I think Blaze's tenure in the band, if you like, was coinciding with Maiden not being particularly good anyway. So I don't particularly like this album. I don't particularly like the album afterwards. It's not Blaze Baylor's fault. You know, I'm sure he didn't write. I think he had some input, but I'm sure, Steve Harris still wrote most of the songs. So it's not Blaze Baylor's fault, but he isn't Bruce Dickinson. He's not trying to be Bruce Dickinson. He is Blaze Bayley. And I think there's some good songs on this album. I really didn't like the next album so much. This is the better of the two for me. We won't talk about that because we'll come on to that album. So, yes, I love this first song. It's one of my favourite Maiden songs. Well, one of my favourite Maiden songs from the later period. Let's call it that. It's not a classic one, but Sign of the Cross, opening track. Strange for a Maiden track to open so quietly. It's so quiet when it opens and obviously builds up in volume. And it's a big, long, classic Maiden song that perhaps shouldn't be the opening track. I think they should usually start with something a bit faster for an opening track because it is a bit weird starting that slowly. But I love the song. I think they have. I don't know if Bruce has done it live. He's certainly done other ones from the album I won't talk about. But
I think he has.
He might have done. But it's a good song and it fits in with the Maiden canon, if you like. So I like it. Sign of the Cross from the X Factor, first with Blaze. There you go.
I think you can definitely hear for what's to come as well. I mean, I mean, you hear elements of them, both of them albums, especially this one, and you hear things that they're doing now. And I think people seem to forget that and have a go a bit about them Blaze albums, which I've got to say I don't particularly like. I didn't like the particular two, like you said, the Fear of the Dark and No Prayer. I think, but there's definitely elements of what they were going to do on this album later on as well. I mean, it's just because Bruce is singing, everyone creams their pants, don't they?
I definitely agree. Yeah, this was the start of those. Of every, nearly every track is going to be, 7-8 minutes long, all that kind of stuff. So I definitely agree with you. This is kind of the beginning of Steve really getting into his prog groove. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Good one though, mate. Good one. That is
good
one
choice,
of the,
Jam.
Yeah, definitely one of the best Blaze tracks I've heard for sure. So good choice. Okay, well, my number one, I've got the T-shirt on. So not everyone's Deftones. It's only in small writing there. So not everyone's favorite band. Obviously, they are. You either love them or you hate them, sort of thing. But with me, though, to tell you the truth, I'm a little bit because they've obviously got some of these screaming vocals a lot in their songs. So I tend to lean towards the ones that haven't got that, just because that's just me. So when it comes to Deftones, I'm very half and half. I can leave a lot of the songs, but a lot of the songs I love. So it's a bit, I never will get into that screaming sort of vocal. That's just me. But this was like the first time, obviously, this was their debut album. The first time I heard Deftones on MTV, I think, because it was still about them, wasn't it, in 95, actually playing music. And I just got really excited by this because they had so much energy. If you actually watch the video for this, it's a single called Bored. It definitely wasn't boring. They were just, it was just a full out sort of assault, if you like. They were definitely a different band back then as well. Like, these first two albums, I won't mention the next one, which is probably my favorite, but then they started to get more involved with, I don't know, hip hop, and you had all these fucking samples and shit through their songs. But this was more straightforward sort of metal, if you like. And yeah, it was just, this Bored song is just heavy, like I said, aggressive, but no screaming. There might have been a little bit just used for effect in the background, but I love the band. I think they've got a really cool sort of sound to them where, I don't know, they sound unique. And
I will give you that. Yeah, I'll give you that.
But I do find it's like one of them bands some of it I love, some of it I don't love. Simple as that. But this first album, a lot of it was good. Bored was an excellent track, and it's the first song I think they unleashed on the world. And they probably, because they are different, they've stuck around, haven't they? They're not like a lot of those bands. So Bored is my number one from Deftones. There you go.
Well, I'll also say that's the beauty of this show. We can just pick songs that at some point in our lives, we may not love their entire discography, but there are great songs from from bad albums or albums we don't listen to, whatever. So
Agreed.
that's great. What's this album called, by the way? Is this the Around the Fur
Oh
one?
yeah, it's Adrenaline. So the next one was Around the Fur, which is fucking.
Oh, okay.
I love that album. That was absolutely brilliant. But
So
Adrenaline.
we'll be looking forward to more Deftones in the future.
Yeah, maybe for the next few years, but definitely not. Maybe not the later years. It depends how desperate I get.
Listening to these albums that you've never listened to before.
Yeah, exactly. But no, they were definitely a different band, especially on this first album. It was like almost they were finding their feet. It was more of a straightforward metal album, probably.
Okay.
But because I think in a way it put me off because I know they're not that sort of band. It's sort of like, oh, that's not really them. It doesn't really sound like them. So I don't know. It's a strange one.
Kind of chasing trends for a record label deal, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But so that's my number one, guys. Deftones. Here you go.
Cool.
Track 2. What we got then, guys?
Yeah, track 2. For me, it's Extreme from their 4th album, Waiting for the Punchline. Still on a major label, you know. This is just the last drip of all these bands, final output. This song's called Cynical. Love the groove on this one. The album itself is different from the others. They're not down tuning. They're not going the kind of depressing route, but it's a very kind of stripped down sound for them. Normally they're a very multi-layered Queen kind of that kind of thing. This sounds like it was recorded live in the studio. But, you know, it's just another facet of the band. I mean, you can still hear how brilliant Nuno Bettencourt is. He's playing his ass off on this album. And the vocals are very kind of in your face. There's just no kind of effects. It's very dry production, almost kind of like a Rick Rubin production. I think they were probably going for just a very dry live in the studio, but it still has some fantastic stuff. And this song, Cynical, is just terrific. It's got, you know, it's kind of their funky, what they do, that kind of funk metal kind of do, but with a great riff and a great chorus. So there you go. Another album that didn't sell anything and from a band that used to be huge.
I mean, they were heading towards that more stripped down sort of thing. I mean, you recommended 3 sides to every story on a previous show, and I actually have got that on my list. And every time a song comes on for that, it does sound even more stripped down than the previous album. I suppose they were more and more heading. For me, it does. It doesn't sound like it's got all the horns and everything going on. That was very
right. Yeah. No, I agree with that. Sure. I think they're more taking the reins by that point, and just since Pornography was such a big hit, the label probably said, "Okay, just do what you want in the studio," and that's what they came up with. 3 sides. You know. But.
Cool. All right then, mate. Brilliant. Okay, what you got, Jen?
Well, talking of sort of one song from a band they probably never, I don't think I know any other songs by them, and certainly completely different to Iron Maiden. I'm going with, I think they're classed as post-grunge, and that is a band from Australia called Silverchair, and probably their biggest hit, I think, from the album Frog Stomp, and it's Tomorrow, which is intro. I mean, I really love this song. It's another one that I've only heard in the last year when I've been in lockdown, listening to Planet Rock, and it's been on, and I just picked it up from there, really. So I wouldn't have had this in 1995, never would have heard it, I doubt, but I certainly wouldn't have bought the album. But I do love this. So it might be their biggest hit. I don't know. Don't know anything about Silverchair.
I actually had the album, mate, back then. So, yeah, I mean, I had the album. They were about 10 years old when they made this album, I think.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not quite, but I know they were like, there was something about them. They were
very young.
One of the youngest bands or something
Yeah.
I don't know. There was something
they were like the grunge Hanson.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know that the singer is goes through a lot. He's had a lot of issues. I think he might have like a slimming, one of these bulimia or something like that. He's gone through a lot of stuff, but I quite liked him at the time. It's just another band that, I mean, I was really into Silverchair for the first 2 or 3 albums, but I don't know. It's just, you know, one of them bands again, isn't it? That have come and gone. But yeah,
they are gone, are they? I presume they're gone.
I'm not really sure. I don't understand. I've been saying post grunge a lot recently. I don't even
they
know
have
what
finally gone. Yeah.
I don't even know what post grunge means.
Well,
I think I've fucking clue.
Well, it means after grunge, doesn't it? I guess.
But you know, it's just
it
weird.
Just means like the second and third wave of these bands that all sounded Similar.
Yeah. Okay, well, my number 2. This is from a band that will probably hit the list every time there's an album or an EP. And I've spoken about this band quite a bit, but Down, obviously, Phil Anselmo, Pepper Keenan from Corrosion of Conformity. This is by far, I think, their best album. This is so fucking heavy, this album, but very cool. It's got a southern, we mentioned sludge, didn't we, last week? Very sludgy.
It does have a bit of sludge, southern sludge,
southern sludge. I mean, this song's called Lifer, and again, this is another band that, you know, with Pantera as well. When Phil Anselmo fucking screams, I'm not particularly, you know me, guys, I like a singer, don't I? But I love his voice as well. When he sings, I think he's got an amazing voice, and obviously he sings a lot. He sings a lot more for Down than he does for Pantera's. That might be another reason I love, you know, Down probably a lot more than I did Pantera. But this has got such a brilliant groove and a breakdown. They've got breakdowns on this album that are just so heavy. It's like 2/3 of the way through each song, all of a sudden the riff just changes, and it's just it's just so absolutely brilliant and heavy. And this is like I don't know, it's like the whole album's like a metal Skinnered, if you like. It had them Skinnered feels running through it weirdly, but so fucking heavy. It's just probably one of my favorite albums at the time for years, you know, through them 90s periods, and love it. Absolutely love it. Lifer is, there's so many songs I could have got on this list, and there's better ones, I think, off the album, which I might mention later, but this is a great song as well. Absolutely brilliant. Lifer is my number 2.
Cool. All right. Cool. Yeah, I like a bit of it myself. All right, number 3 for me is blah blah blah. It's the Wild Hearts.
Yeah, you know, I listened to the Wild Hearts then.
Yes,
you did. Yeah. Well, we'll just maybe pass on. Well, what you liked aspects of it, I guess you said.
I did. The riffing was clever. It was completely. What song was it called again? You just have to remind.
Sky Babies. Yeah.
Yeah, clever how it completely like listening to maybe 3 or 4 different songs, you know, and but it all fitting together quite nicely. The riffing was great, but what it made when it come out into that heavy riffing, it made it even more heavier because of the song itself wasn't heavy, if you like, in parts. So when that came in, I was like, fucking, if it could all be like this, I'd love this, man.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's what we like about the Wild Hearts, is that they do put, you know, I think I said before, is the Beach Boys meets Metallica. You know, it's like very poppy choruses, but with just heavy as fuck riffs. So I don't know. So anyway, this is the album PHUQ, normally known as Fuck, obviously. This is Just in Lust. Was a single, just a brilliant song. One of their better known songs, probably, I would say. So there you go, Just in Lust with you.
Right. All right, cool. Well, I mean, Jam's looking like he's going to choose this one for some reason. Am I thinking right?
No, that's a great album. Might revisit it later. We'll see.
Sorry?
No. We might revisit this album later. We'll see, won't we?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know, I've run out of superlatives to mention Ginger and the Wild Hearts. So from now on, I'm just going to say, hey, this is from the album Fuck, and it's called Just in Lust, and it's fantastic. And you should listen to it. And you should buy the album.
you can only push bands onto people so much.
You can only say so much. Yeah.
Well,
so there you go.
66% of us think the Wild Hearts are brilliant. So there you go.
Well, there you go. Yeah, exactly. 33% of them love the Deftones.
Would you say love the Deftones? Would you really?
Well, yeah. Like a lot.
Yeah. Anyway, on to Jam.
Right. Number 3 is his first solo album after being in Guns N' Roses, and it's Slash's Snake Pit. From the first album, it's 5 O'Clock Somewhere, and it's track 3, Beggars and Hangers On, which is a little bit bluesy. So I don't know if Leo like this much, but it's a very good song. Quite long, actually. I think it's about 4 or 5 minutes, 6 minutes long for a Slash song. Which is pretty long, but it's just
not live. Not live though. They're fucking 25 minutes
about
long.
8 minutes long because they'll have about Godfather solo in there somewhere, won't there? But no, great song. A bit rock. I don't know who the singer is. I think they had 2 different singers on both albums.
This singer was Eric Dover, who was actually in an incarnation of one of my very favorite bands called Jellyfish. Or like a power pop band. He was in the second incarnation of them. So that's who it is, Eric Dover.
It's got a good voice. I like it anyway. But this is one of his good songs. I've seen, if you ever seen Slash, I've seen him quite a few times. He's got all his solo stuff with Miles Kennedy. Plus, he did that Superstar one he did with loads of different singers, including Lemmy, etc. But this was. But when you see him live, he still plays this song and a couple more off his other solo albums. So
does he? Oh, that's good.
Oh yeah, he plays these. And he plays Guns N' Roses and he plays Velvet Revolver. He does everything. But yeah, he plays this song Beggars and Hangers On, which is probably where I first heard it because I didn't listen to Slash's Snake Pit at the time. And this is just one of the probably I have heard the album since. This is one of the best songs on it, so it fell out nicely at number 3. Good song.
Just mentioning long songs there. But they put some footage of a recent Guns N' Roses concert. On YouTube the other day, or it was on some post, and like literally every song I just saw the length of each song. I didn't even bother clicking because like Welcome to the Jungle was like fucking like 8 minutes or something, and then like I just thought, what? I mean, like it's one of my worst nightmares is going to a concert and seeing someone soloing for ages. I did see Guns N' Roses. I think I've mentioned it before at Download, which was amazing because it was good that I got to see him. But I think they played for like 3.5 hours. But I think 2.5 hours was Slash.
Yeah,
it really was.
It is good value for money. Let's put it that way. But it is a long time.
Yeah, but I'd rather see 2 hours and just fucking the songs just around that. Maybe they're giving I don't know, fucking Axl a rest. I don't know. Perhaps that's what it is. Just a quick question for you. I can't understand. I mean, I think Axl obviously he's older now, but I think he sang a million times better for some reason for AC/DC than he does for Guns N' Roses. And some of them AC/DC songs, I don't know if you heard any of the live stuff he did. They're not fucking easy to sing. I'm not saying he's better than Brian Johnson or Bon Scott. No way. I love both of them singers. But for some reason he could hit and sing them with ease, and it's really weird how he can do that. And I just find it strange because Bon Scott and Brian Johnson sing at a sort of really, I mean, it doesn't sound it, but they're quite a high singing.
Yeah.
But he could really blast out them songs as if, and I think it's really strange how he's got the power for AC/DC, but not so much for Guns N' Roses.
I thought it was tremendous doing AC/DC. I saw it as well. I think was it Spurs at West Ham Stadium or something. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I was shocked. Anybody else? It was brilliant.
I'm shocked. I'm really shocked how it suited the songs. I'm not saying I want him to play, sing for AC/DC, but to step in and do a performance like that, there's me. Look, I'm sort of bigging up Axl Rose there. There you go. Get it on record.
Your new best friend, Axl Rose.
Anyway, okay.
He'll be calling anytime soon now. You can have an interview.
Yeah, it'd be a bit late though, maybe. Okay. My track 3, I had to go searching for this one and I hadn't heard it before. So this is what I spoke about at the beginning. Heard of the band, so I had to go and listen to this album. This is Kingdom Come, who have been on each of my All Killer lists, I think, leading up to this one, where every time they brought an album out. So I think this is the first album of the albums I didn't hear. I lost, I left the band. And to tell you the truth, the album ain't that good either now. Very experimental, mellow, different than what they were doing. I don't know if this is the start of the Lenny Wolf I want to be, solo project. I don't know. But this is Twilight Cruiser is the album. And this is the actual title track. Twilight Cruiser, and for me it stood out because it had that feel of the previous albums. So I've put down here a great song on a poor album, basically, for me. And it would have probably fitted on one of those earlier albums. It had that sound, that groove, that groove that they've got, that sort of groove that they had on all those albums. The chorus fell a bit flat, but sometimes they had songs like that, didn't they? Do you remember like 17 on the first album? Almost no chorus is there, but it's like it's sort of got a groove to it. This Twilight Cruiser had that, so a good song for me on a poor album. But you know, this is all about tracks. So Kingdom Come,
Yep.
Twilight Cruiser. There you
Cool.
go.
Yeah, I've got most of those. I've got or have heard most of those post, Kingdom Come albums, all that he's released all through the years, and all the records are like that. There's about 2 or 3 tracks that I've kept in my iTunes that I listen to occasionally, but the rest of the album I wouldn't ever put back on.
No.
But anyway,
Still a great voice though.
Still doing it.
His voice was still great at this stage. Obviously,
Yes.
it's only 95, so he's only been 7 or 8 years, whatever it is. So
Yeah.
okay, all right. Track 4,
All right.
guys.
Good. What are we on track 4? Oh, my track 4 is interesting. It's a German band called Axis, AXXIS.
Mm.
Do you know this one, Lee, at all?
Heard of them? I don't think I've heard any music. I've heard of the name though.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I discovered them with their with one of their later albums that came out about 5 years ago. I had never heard them either, but I really liked that album, so I went back and got some older ones. Apparently, their first one was one of the biggest hard rock albums in Germany of that era. So they really made a splash with their debut album. This album is their 4th album called Matters of Survival. This song is called On My Own. I'd say it's a mid-tempo, not yet a ballad, but kind of that mid-tempo groove. Really good. His voice is very distinctive. It's weird. It's some songs I like him on, almost a Klaus Meine kind of tremble to his voice. But on other songs, it's a bit too much. But here he sounds great. This is a really good song. I think you might like it, Lee, for sure.
Okay.
So anyway, their 4th album, Axis, AXXIS. And as I said, they're still going strong because I didn't know them until one of their more recent albums. So that's probably their 10th album of the career or something.
So what's their, is their new stuff is obviously good as well then.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. That for me, they just came out of nowhere.
Okay.
But I think they're on one of those, frontier-y bands. May not be Frontiers, but one of those labels that are doing all the good stuff.
AFM, something like that.
They're one of those. Yeah. I can't tell you off the top of my head, but
cool.
I don't think they stopped. I think they just continued just releasing records all this time.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, there you go, Axis.
Cheers, mate. Excellent. Right, what you got, Jack?
And before going to one of my favourite bands as well, Faith No More, and the album King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime. This is a strange one. I didn't particularly like it at the time when it came out, and I think it obviously probably did not a lot of this period of time, but I think it's come to become a classic album. I think a lot of Faith No More fans actually love this album, and for me as well, it's grown on me because I've heard it more recently. And some good stuff on there. I mean, it's nothing like the real thing. It's more akin to Angel Dust, as you'd expect. This song is Gentle Art of Making Enemies, which is. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Lee would like this one because it's got a bit of shoutiness in this one. It's definitely got the shouty bits from Angel Dust in it, but it's quite mellow in the verses. So I could have picked a lot of songs off this album. I like Take This Bottle Out, which I think we've gone past, which is a good song. And there's some classic. There's a classic ballady one on here as well, which I think is a bit later, so I won't mention that one. But no, it's a good song. But it's definitely a growing album. It's one you probably need to listen to a few more times, like any Faith No More post.
Oh yeah, they're not immediate, are they? Like
no, they're not anymore. No.
Apart from the real thing, that was immediate.
Exactly.
But yeah, for sure, yeah.
But no, it's a good album. It definitely needs. If you're stuck on the real thing, anybody out there, go and listen to the ones after this because there's something in there. But you will have to have a lot of listens to it. But it's good stuff. So Gentle Art to Make Enemies, and they play it live. I think last time I saw them, I think they played this.
Cheers, mate. Good one. Okay, well, I'm going to Michael Sweet now. So his second solo album called Real. Now, I only revisited some of these Michael Sweet albums a few months ago. I did a best top Michael Sweet songs or something like that and got to listen to all the albums. And so I never heard this back in 95. But this song is almost a Southern feel to this. A bit of Southern music. Almost, I put it down here, it sounds like it'd be like on the Young Guns soundtrack, something like off the Bon Jovi sort of album. Very cool song called The River. Quite emotional song, great vocals from Michael Sweet. He hasn't really missed a beat since his vocals have changed over the years, but some would say in a better way. He's got that, you know, from that high pitched thing that he did in the 80s, and now it's probably even better. But it's lovely, just a lovely feel to this song altogether. So it's a brilliant sort of acoustic, rides along on an acoustic piano type song, but very southern feel to it. So quite different from that, obviously Striper or anything like that. But also his albums for me, apart from the last three, I think I said this when I've mentioned his debut album, are very spotty. There'll be great songs and then not so much. You would experiment a bit too much if you like. But now if you get a Michael Sweet solo album, the last three have been full on metal like the Striper album. So you know what you're getting now as well. Yeah. So no, brilliant song, The River. I don't know if it's a popular song within Michael Sweet fans, but I love it. Absolutely great.
I'm sure you'll hear if it is.
Oh yeah. definitely. Maybe.
Was this album recorded down on the farm as well?
Yeah, while he was picking broccoli or whatever. Does broccoli grow in America? I don't really know. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it would grow out of the ground, I think. I don't think there's broccoli trees.
I'm not sure if he was still plowing the fields while making this album. I'm not really sure.
But it kind of sounds like it though.
You know what? He was probably in a vineyard or something. I don't know. I'm not sure what it was. So someone could say what he was actually doing.
I'm just believing what you've told me in the past.
Yeah. I know he was doing something completely different, but I don't know if this stage was if he was. I know he was working on some sort of farm, or
was he milking cows?
He might have been rounding up horses, or he might have been doing a bit of that.
Maybe.
You know. I mean, this song would suggest that it's a bit cowboyish. So there you go. Right. Okay.
Had a hound dog on his trail. something. Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Good enough. Sorry, okay. Michael Sweet. We're not making fun, really. We're just having a laugh.
Of course.
Okay, so the opposite of Michael Sweet, I have King Diamond. Satan. King Diamond. This is his 6th album called The Spider's Lullaby. This song is called Moonlight. Not quite so fast for him. A bit more. I like when he has just the medium paced riffy songs. All we all like those. Oh, yeah. But this one is fairly melodic for him. You know, he can sing melody when he wants, and again, he's got 500 million albums, and I'm sure some people don't even know where to dive into his catalog. But I can recommend The Spider's Lullaby. It's good production on this one, and it's a good story. So. Most are concept albums, obviously, but you can't listen to the songs separately and not feel like you're missing much. So yeah, King Diamond back on the list.
It's weird, isn't it? I hear a lot of King Diamond, people talking about King Diamond, and I think one of the things that puts me off, and it shouldn't do, is that it's that love and hate thing again about his voice, isn't it? I automatically think I'm not going to like it, and I should just listen to it and think, do I like it or not?
Yeah. I don't know. It's definitely falsetto. He does like a high falsetto. That's mostly what people, either complain or love about. But he does sing in a medium register as well, so it's not all, helium vocals throughout all of his songs and all of his albums, Yeah. So he does sing on an even keel, but don't know. Yeah. You just have to dive in at some point and see if you like it.
Yeah, it's pretty similar. I think I mentioned before. It's like Rush. The first time I sort of heard some early Rush, I wasn't sure about Geddy Lee's vocals at all. But the more you listen to it, and he wasn't quite so high later on in the Rush period, but you do get used to it. And I love it now. I think it sounds perfect for Rush. But one of them things.
Cool. Excellent. Cheers. Cool. Excellent one, mate. Okay, what you got then, mate?
Yeah.
Sticking with the dark side and the Prince of Darkness himself, Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh yeah.
From Osmosis album. Not one of my favourites, I must admit. Probably want to listen to some of the least. And this is one of those songs where it's after he did No More Tears, he started doing them sort of more commercially rocky songs. There's still heavy stuff. There's obviously heavy stuff on there, but it's not a ballad as such, but it's a softer song. And this is See You on the Other Side, which is a good sing-along, mid-paced So it's co-written by Lemmy, which is always good, of course, and it's just one of those ones. It was a single, and yeah, I liked it. I say it's not one of my favourites. There's Perry Mason's a very good song, which was that was the first track on the album, so we can mention that. And there's a couple of other good songs on it. But I think Lee likes this album.
Yeah, I do. I do. I love that. I love this song as well. It's I love it.
My meal, so you go. But yes, a mid-paced Ozzy song. I'm not sure if he does it live anymore. I don't think I've heard it. Maybe, don't know. I haven't seen him for a while. I'll let you know in February if he turns up. And that's it. Yeah, see you on the other side. Osmosis.
I don't know why. I should have actually chose that for my number 5, but I can't say it now because I haven't.
I better check I got it right.
I think I think what it is, I added an Ozzy song off this album at first, and then with all the changes, for some reason, I've not included it. But I do really like that song, and I love the first couple of tracks as well. Obviously Perry Mason, and the next track I fucking love it. I can't remember what that's called.
I just want you.
That's the one. I just love the way it builds and builds, and it sort of gets a bit heavier. And I think he's one of his best vocal performances as well, for sure. For me, on this album, he's like got a lot of strength in his voice, where other times it feels like he just isn't there on the albums at all. But I think it's one of his better performances. Anyway, but so what I did a lot of work for myself, and obviously found something that I've never heard before. But that's not a bad thing, is it? So, but a band that I like, and I've liked their recent output especially, so I went back. Flotsam and Jetsam, thrash band from the 80s. They brought an album out called Drift. I don't think it's one of their more popular ones. I don't know if they were going through a 90s stage where they weren't so popular, but I mean, this song sounds fantastic. It's called Missing. And it's like it's an acoustic opening, then it gets heavier at about the 1 minute mark, and it goes in and out of heaviness. It goes back and forth into acoustic and like them thrash heavy riffs. It sounds more mellow for these guys, but sort of an epic sort of sounding song. It's an absolutely brilliant song, and just shows you that some of the gems that these bands were doing, whether it was like that album was full up with gems, I don't know. It was like I was searching for a number 5, even though I had Ozzy Osbourne. It's just, but even though I had that staring at me in the face, I'm glad actually, because now we get to speak about the Ozzy song, which I love, and we got Flotsam and Jetsam Missing as well. So there you go. Okay.
Absolutely.
Making work for myself. I mean, it doesn't matter, does it?
Story of your life, isn't it, Lee?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
All right. Number 6, the mighty John Sykes. Out of My Tree is the album, and this track is called Black Days. Just your classic Sykesy sounding, White Snakey, brilliance, just great. Very Blue Murdery.
Was this the last single he released until recently? Was it?
Probably.
No, he's got a few records coming up here in these next few years that will be making an appearance. Out of My Tree, I guess, would be his debut solo album, I believe, because Blue Murder 2 would have been just the year before this. So this must be his first. You never know, because on some of these records that are coming up in these years, it just says Sykes. So I don't know if Sykes maybe was the name of the band project or something, but it's just John Sykes solo album to me. But anyway, Out of My Tree, man, if you haven't heard it, listen to it. It's got that same production that we love. Good tunes, great guitar playing, obviously. This is a great rocker. So definitely Sykes back in the 90s.
Yeah, I do like a bit of John. He's playing. I always prefer back to his playing because he's got a certain style, isn't he, that you can point out when you hear music now, and I always say John Sykes-esque because it's got that sort of, he's got something about him that's a bit different for sure. I
mean, that solo on that single you had a reaction to a couple weeks ago was just like, fucking hell. It just goes like crazy at the end. I'm just like, God damn, fantastic.
I do wish though that now he would, and I know he's got a good voice, I've said this before, but I wish he would just get someone in.
You want one of those young Italian singers to sing for him, don't you?
No, someone like that Dino Chalusic or someone like that.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Can you imagine him with his guitar in? It would be like fucking amazing. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But I don't mind his voice, but you want someone who can really fucking sing and hit some high notes.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it'd be really cool if he got someone else in, but you know, I think he thinks he's too good for that. Maybe.
Been there, done that. I can't imagine the egos and the problems with Coverdale and with Phil Lynott, even though he's known for being a pretty cool guy. I'm sure, leading of the band, especially the end, that's probably terrible time,
Yeah.
So yeah, he's probably just said, fuck that. I'm just doing my own music.
Cool. All right. Okay. We got it, mate.
Okay. Number 6, Dom's favourite band, Alison Chains.
Oh, yeah.
Going from their last album with Lane Staley. It hasn't actually got a title. Sorry?
What's
Tripod Dog.
Yes. I was going to say it's got no title. It's called Try Dog, or Alison Chains people call it. I don't know, but it's got a strange cover on it. But it's not. To follow up Dirt and those EPs is always going to be difficult, and obviously I'm sure there's a lot of drug problems going on with Lane at the time, and it's not a great album particularly, but this song again is probably the standout song on it, and it is the only one, if you see him play live now, it's the only one I think they play off this album, so they obviously don't rate it themselves particularly highly, but it's a great song. This sounds like Alison Chains of old. The song again, I don't know if it was maybe on a film soundtrack or something, possibly as well. I seem to have heard it quite a lot, but very good song, but not a great album for me.
It's almost like this, even on this song in particular and throughout the album, it's almost like they just filled his vocals up with echo. Yeah. Too much. I don't know if he was struggling because he was ill, but it's almost like the effects on his voice was just. I mean, if you go back and listen to Dirt, it's so raw, isn't it? His voice is just so strong, but this almost like, especially that Again song. It's although I like the song, the echo on his voice is just like ridiculous. And people say, don't they, that this is their best album. Some people, and you just think, fuck.
I've never heard that before.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously everyone's got an opinion, but you hear like how strong this album is, and it's nowhere near for me. And they almost became, there's some songs on here that are very long, and it's almost becoming like they sort of jam in. They weren't like that, were they? They were in your face and fucking in and out, and it was heavy and it was catchy in a heavy way. But anyway,
We Die Young's only 2.5 minutes, isn't it? That's how they started.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like they lost that Sabbathy thing and were going into more of their albums now. The last 3,
they're better than this.
Miles better than this. People will argue that case just because Lane ain't there, but it's just ridiculous, in my opinion. Obviously.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, this is probably their least best album for me.
Yes, for sure.
Out of all of them, all of them. So,
yeah. Okay, I'm going to a band that I discovered probably about 1.5 years ago. I think I've said this before. Well, I listened to one of their albums when it came out, Iced Earth. So I listened to Glorious Burden with Tim Ripper Owens back when it came out and fucking loved it. For some reason, I didn't go and listen to anything else. I just loved that album. But then about 1.5 years ago, I started getting into Iced Earth and all their catalogue. And they brought out an album, which is... fans do see as their best album, actually, Burnt Offerings. I don't see it as the best album. I think they had a lot better to come. This was just a real heavy, sort of aggressive album. And this song's called Creative Failure, which is a great song. And there's some great songs on this album, but I think they were going through a bit of a turmoil at the time with their record label and stuff like that. And they reckon that's the reason this is so fucking heavy and aggressive and stuff. But this song itself is just brilliant, and there's some great tracks on this album. This is doomy, very dark, almost sounds like Candlemass at times. This very, very doomy. This is some real fucking heavy shit. The riffing that's going on, obviously he's John Schaefer, no matter what's happening with him, he's just an amazing rhythm guitarist. I picked him on a super band, if you like. I'd have him every time as a rhythm guitarist because he's just fucking mad. The riffs that come out of it's like a riff machine. He really is, and this ain't no exception. So, Burnt Offerings is the album. Creative Failure is the song from Iced Earth. There you go.
Cool.
I actually knew you were a big fan, but I didn't know that you had only just discovered them truly in the last few years. I thought you'd been listening to them all through.
No, I mean, these are one of the bands as well that I weirdly concentrated on because we always talk about, don't we? And the old, there's too much music. But when I first started listening to Iced Earth Again, I got all of their discography, and I was just listening to it constantly. It's the only thing I'd listen to for a good couple of months. So, there ain't that many bands that do that to me where I just want to listen to them and that's it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Cool.
They're very varied, and all some of their songs are not so good, especially the early stuff. But as they went on, for me, they improved and improved.
Yeah.
Well, I ain't going to be any fucking more out of them, though, are you? But there you go.
The end. Maybe who knows? I'm not going to get into that.
I think Dee Snider. Just a quick one. I think he had a bit of a go at him on his last album as well. I'm not sure. There's a track lyrically. It's almost like you did the crime, you got to do the time. Stop being a fucking baby, basically. And I think it might be a dig at him because he's like he's been let out now, and apparently they reckon he's grassed up a lot of people in the to get a lesser sentence. That's what.
Oh wow!
Apparently.
At all.
So yeah, you do the crime, you do the time was Dee Snider's little line. I think it's about him, but I might be wrong. There
okay. All right, we'll move on.
Yeah, exactly.
Number 7 for me is from Vince Neil's second solo album. This is called Carved in Stone. He was using different sounds and textures. A lot of the songs kind of have that kind of maybe industrial kind of sampley feel to them, trying out different things. But this song that I've always really liked this song, and it's just a straight up rock song. This is called Shadows on the Wall. It is a bit dark. I don't know. It's hard for me to say that Vince Neil ever went alt metal, but it's a very mid tempo, and it is kind of a minor chordy riff, but it does rock, and you still get Vince's vocals on there. So I guess maybe a precursor to Generation Swine. But it's still a terrific song, and I
tried in my efforts to try and find the full 12 songs here. I did glance over this album. Yeah, I don't know what tracks I listened to because I was trying to find certain track numbers. I couldn't find anything off it. I couldn't believe how different it was to the previous album that he brought out, which was basically a fucking great Motley Crue album. It sounded like even better at some points. So this, when I was listening to this, I was thinking, like you said, I was thinking, what the fuck is this all about? It's just complete. And like, it's another one of them ones, isn't it? Trying to keep up with the times, mid-90s, new metal, fucking industrial.
He's very, very confused, trying to find a fine line between what he used to do and incorporating newer sounds or anything. But anyway, so track 7 for me is a very strong song. So I'm going with that.
The best thing to do when you're confused, didn't you? Have a Big Mac, Neil. That's what the fucking best thing to do.
Oh, is that a dig on his weight?
Maybe.
Oh, it's funny. He wasn't fat in 95. I don't think.
I know.
Maybe he was. Who knows?
I know. I'm just. I just think it's a shame because I just hope he gets fit for these concerts that people are all paying out for. That's all I hope. Because
we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. But there you go. All right. Okay. What you got then, Jan?
Okay, halfway point. We've had Iron Maiden, we've had Ozzy Osbourne. Now we're going to have AC/DC, a band who definitely hasn't gone with the times and changed their sound. It's classic AC/DC. I mean, they usually have a long period, or certainly at this stage, between albums, so they can sort of ride. They can almost miss trends if they're not bothered. They can perhaps just delay it for another year before they bring something out, just so they don't have to avoid perhaps changing too much. But this, I must admit, I've never really listened to much of the Ball Breaker CD. But what I have heard is just straightforward, and this is the single, I think, Hail Caesar. Very good, brilliant chorus on it. I really love this song. It's just a standard exactly, yeah, brilliant. Standard AC/DC rocker, and it's probably doesn't fit in 1995, but AC/DC fans are very loyal, and I'm sure it was bought in the droves by all those fans. I'm sure they still played big venues when they came over here. Not sure where they played. I'm sure they still filled out at least Wembley. You know what I mean? Wembley Arena, I'm sure. So yeah, great song, great single, and yeah, surprising at the time. Really, it doesn't really fit in with '95, but AC/DC don't fit in quite often, so still people still like it. So that's
I think that's the funny thing about AC/DC. I think at the time when they was bringing these albums out, people looked at them and was trying to compare them, obviously, to Back in Black, and saying, oh, they're not as all right. They weren't as good. But if you actually go back now and listen, they're not bad at all, are they? Some of these, and I'm not saying I listen to AC/DC intently and have every one of their, but when I do hear something from them in them dark periods, if you like, that people were saying they were making crap albums, they're not that fucking crap. I think they were pretty good, actually, and I just think people's expectations sometimes are just a little bit,
This is a classic example. This song's brilliant. Love it. Great song.
It's like the new album, innit? I think if that was brought out in the mid-90s, people might have slagged it a little bit more, but I think people were starting to realise. I think people were starting to realise, hold on a minute, they're pretty good. They're getting on a bit as well, and they deserve a bit of a pat on the back, I think. But
everything that you've said is true.
Yeah,
both of you. Congratulations. Completely agree with everything you just said.
Yes, thank you for that. And I think that sort of put people off, like me, who would just read about them albums, and that everyone would go, oh god, yeah, give it a lot of, in Kerrang, they give it a lot of fucking 3 out of 5 or something, and it's dull and it's the same old shit, and you would just go, all right, I ain't gonna fucking bother listening to that. But I think I'm gonna go buy a Deftones record, or the next record, which I'm going to mention, which is Mad Season. So
there you go. Fuck AC/DC.
Yeah,
I don't like
exactly.
Them anymore.
Exactly. So Mad Season, as most people probably know, only made one album called Above, and it was a mixture of Alison Chains and Pearl Jam. I don't know if there's anyone else involved. Was there, Jam? You might know in this album.
Well, I was going to mention that. I forgot. I was going to write down who else was in it. I can't remember now. But is it? But yes, obviously, I knew it was Lane, isn't it? Is it Jeff Ament? Is it from Pearl Jam?
It might be It might be someone out of Soundgarden as well, because they was all sort of like together at the time. And anyway,
I forgot to note it. I must admit. Sorry.
The funny thing was that this album, I don't know when it was recorded, but the vocals from Lane Staley compared to the Alice in Chains album, which was out the same year, are just totally different. He's got a really strong vocal on this, which is a bit strange. Like I said, perhaps, I don't know, I'm not a heroin expert, but I don't know if you like,
you're not?
No, believe it or not, no, never that one. But maybe a few other things I've been naughty with, but not that. But I don't know if you spend a few months just, you can't fucking even hardly speak, and then you feel better. I don't know, but it seemed like in this album he was at full strength near enough, so this song's called I Don't Know Anything, which is more Alice in Chains than a lot of this album. I actually like the mellow stuff on this album a lot, and Lane Staley sings it so well, but this is a full-on, this could have been an Alice in Chains song, this one for sure. A great album. I loved it at the time. I don't listen to it now, to tell you the truth. So this is one that's made the list because I loved it at the time, if you like. If it come on, I wouldn't skip it or anything, but I don't know. There was something different about Alice in Chains rather than this. I don't know. There's something better. And I know this is thought of as a real classic grunge album. I do love it, but just one of them ones that I listen to other stuff now. So
yeah,
a great song though. There you go. Mad Season. I Don't Know Anything from Above.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so I will move on to the mighty Anthrax Stomp 442 album. Many say this is probably the worst of their career. I don't know. For some reason, it's got a reputation as being really shitty. I don't think so. If anything, this is the one that really super got me into Anthrax. I mean, I had listened to Sound of White Noise, not really being a fan of theirs before. And I was like, wow, but I still wasn't won over. I had too many memories of, Frank Bello being a dummy and just acting like idiots on stage and stuff. Anyway, so But now we got Stomp 442. This is called American Pompeii. Really great. Of course, John Bush is fantastic on here. Just a fantastic heavy rock album and song. I think some people have some sort of selective memory that this is kind of like a grungy alternate album, but it's not. It's not at all. I don't think so. So there you go. Stomp 442.
It only takes one riff that sounds a bit fucking alternative metal, and then that's an alternative metal album.
That's their grunge album. Yeah.
That's how people think, innit? Just a quick note on John Bush there. What a fucking great voice he's got now.
Still singing great. Yeah.
Amazing.
Absolutely. So maybe Stomp 442 is ready for a bit of a reappraisal. I don't know, but it certainly was a great album for me. And American Pompeii is a real terrific rocker. So there you go.
Good choice, mate. Okay. Cool. What you got for your number 8 then, Jam?
Number 8, I'm going to White Zombie from, I was going to say second album, but I think they did release a first album before they did the Saxon
Independent. Yeah, independent one. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's Astro Creek 2000, which is a weird one for me because even though I love the Sexy Sister and I was really into them at the time, I never listened to this album. I don't know why, and I never have listened to this album in full.
Wow.
But it's supposedly the best White Zombie album. A lot of people say that. I mean,
it's the one. It's the one that I've heard about, and to tell you the truth, I've only seen Rob Zombie live, so I don't know anything about his music at all. But this is the one that I hear.
Yeah.
The album title more than any other, for sure.
That's it. Yeah, that's the one that's supposed to be good. And this song is more human than human, and I know it because Rob Zombie plays it live. You see, so this is where I first heard it. So I've heard the song quite a lot now, and I really like it. And it's one of them albums I put on my list. I must go and listen to this album, sort of thing, because I'm sure it's brilliant. But so I hold my hands up. But this song is great, more human than human, from Astro Creek 2000, which I say is still a live favourite when you go and see Rob himself play, even though he's got all them solo albums.
Probably his most well-known song in the States. Certainly White Zombie's most well-known song, but maybe even considering his solo work, probably still his most famous song in the States,
And we still got the monsters to come.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Let's just stick to the music, mate.
All right, sorry, just giving people an update on there. He's making the monsters. All right, just to let anyone know who doesn't know. All right, okay, all right.
Yeah, oh God. And casting his wife, of course, is Lily Munster.
Of course she is.
The only thing I'll say about this is I saw a co-headlining tour at this time with White Zombie and Pantera, which is quite wild.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I bet. Fucking hell. Okay. Well, I'm going to a bit of grunge again. We've already mentioned this album. You have Jam. Obviously, it ain't Dom. It's grunge, isn't it? But Alison Chains, from that album we're talking about, which is the Alison Chains album. Is it the dog album? The three-legged dog?
Yeah, three-legged
dog.
Limping Dog. The Limping Dog album. And it's God Am, which I think is a brilliant song. It's got like a weird... The chorus is really catchy, and it's got like this Jerry Cantrell does this weird harmonic sort of playing over the chorus, this guitar playing, which is very, very cool indeed. I just think it's sort of got a lot of stop-start verses, but the chorus opens up into this amazing chorus. For me, this and the opening track, which is what is it, Jam? Are the main tracks for me. It's a real grind is the opening track. So this one and Grind are the ones that really I think are the outstanding tracks on this album. And again, it's pretty good as well. But Goddamn from Limping Dog.
Yeah.
Is it fitting to have Mad Season and Alison Chains in your top 10 list?
It's a bit weird, isn't it? It did how it all worked out, and not to give too much away, but my last 3 songs are all ballads. So there you go.
Oh right.
Grunge and ballads. Welcome to Lee's 1995.
I know.
Have you only got 3 songs left then? Because I've got 4.
Hold on. No, but my last 3 are.
I'll say right.
I've got one more that's not. Even that you could say it's nearly a ballad, but the last 3 are definitely ballads. So there you go. Okay, right.
Okay. I'm sticking with tradition. We have the mighty Saxon who never lost the faith. Never lost the faith. Kept releasing records. Independent labels be damned. Who cares? Let's just make great records still, and they did. This is from their 12th album, Dogs of War. This song is called "Give It All Away." Terrific song. Catchy. Everything you love about Saxon. Everybody knows what they sound like. It's only that most people have only heard the first 4 albums.
Yeah, I love that.
Believe me, they were still. Sorry, go ahead.
Go on, mate. No, go on. Carry on. I'll say after.
They were still making quality music. It's just and they probably lived on European money at this point, I would imagine. They would still be able to tour places like Bulgaria and places like that and play for 70,000 people or something crazy. It's just that nobody in their homeland or the States or anything else were even paying attention to them. They would come here and probably play 1,000-seater and then go over to, I don't know, somewhere and, play arenas. So, but they survived and they still wrote new music. They didn't become a heritage act where they only just, did their old soul stuff. They were still writing new material. And so let's give it up for Saxon, Gods of War.
Yeah. I think this is very similar to the AC/DC thing we were sort of talking about. I think that, people were looking at those. I haven't actually heard this album. And it's probably because of the similar thing to AC/DC that people were saying, I ain't no Wheels of Steel. It's no Strong Arm of the Law.
It's just more of the same, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So, but I love the way they stuck around, and now they're sort of a huge festival band, aren't they? Really, as well.
Mm-hmm.
And their albums they might be different now. Yeah. They might be more in that power metal type music. I don't know, a little bit, but a
little bit, but not anything.
No, nothing. They're not fucking Manowar or anything.
They still sound like Saxon. Yeah,
they do. But no, good choice, that, mate. I'm glad. I might be visiting some Saxon albums later on and have to actually listen to them. I don't know, but by that stage, I think there's loads of music for me in those later years. Do you know what I mean? So good though.
Yeah, excellent.
Great choice, mate. What you got, Jan?
Right, number 9. I struggled a bit, so I've had to pick one that I picked on another list we did with for the bands. So it's I won't talk about it too much, but it's Def Leppard. So another old name coming out here. It's from the Volt album, Greatest Hits 1980 to 1995. But this is obviously a song that's originally on this album. It's not on any of their albums. And it's When Love and Hate Collide. So I've got a ballad as well. But a very good one.
Fuck's sake. Jam's done it, and he's fucking got something that I wouldn't have probably minded. I didn't even think about this fucking thing.
Wow.
There you go.
You really lost on this one.
I know. That's a good one, though, mate.
Ozzy, Leopard, you're just...
I know.
Classic.
I know, but I do love that song, and that's more like that's more like their fucking 80s stuff, that, isn't it? Their late 80s sort of stuff. For sure.
It's brilliant. As I say, it's a good Greatest Hits album because it's got another 2 Steps Behind on it as well, which was an original. So although it was on Last Action Hero, it was on that as well. So it's a good. If you've never been into Def Leppard, that's a good place to start because you've got some extra songs on there for you as well.
Cool. Okay. Cool. Okay, well, my number 9 is from a band that I love, but at this stage they were getting too bluesy, and I don't like bluesy stuff too much. So it's the band FM, and they bought an album out called Dead Man's Shoes, and so this was about it might have been their 4th or 5th album at this time, and they're another band that has kept going. They had a little break, but they did start to, like I said, introduce more blues music. So about half of their album would have this bluesy feel, and then the rest would be the AOR sort of sound that I love them doing. So this is one of those songs, an AOR song called Misery, and it's just they could do AOR so right. And I just, even now, they're losing the blues a bit more now on their recent stuff, so they're cutting it out. They have a couple on. I just wish they would stick to that because they're fucking brilliant at it. One of the most underrated AOR bands, British as well, obviously. So a great band. Steve Overland, his voice is just amazing, and it has been all the way through. Just one of those people who's not lost a beat at all. Not for everyone, a bit of AOR, probably not a bit of Jam this. One, I won't recommend this one to Jam, but
I'm sure it's very good. Just not
it is. It's very good. They are one of the, the top AOR bands that are very underrated. Very cool song. Misery off Dead Man's Shoes. There you go. That's
All
my
right.
number 9.
Go FM. Right. Number 10, my turn for a down song. This is Stone the Crows.
Oh, yeah.
Of NOLA, as we call it, I guess. New Orleans, Louisiana, I think it's supposed to be.
I didn't actually mention the name of the album, so thank you for that, Dom.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think it's New Orleans, Louisiana. I think that's what it is. Everything that Lee said and more. It's great to hear him just kind of sing. Because in Pantera he does do some singing, but it's mostly very aggressive. This is more, as you say, southern, and he's kind of stretched his wings a bit. Great band. You mentioned Pepper, but also mentioned that Rex, the bass player from Pantera, is also on this. So it is half of Pantera. It's just not the two brothers. And I think most of the doomy riffs and stuff are courtesy of Kirk Weinstein, who's been around forever and ever. God, why can't I think of the band he's in? Oh,
Crowbar.
Jesus. Sorry,
Crowbar were part of
Crowbar.
this band.
Thank you so much. Yes, Crowbar. So Crowbar was around at this time as well. They're kind of sludgy band. So I think a lot of these riffs probably is his input. But yeah, great album. I'm sure a lot of people have heard it. But there you go. Down.
Fucking long as well. I mean, I was looking at how many tracks were on this, and I wanted some of the last tracks. I would have loved to have been on my 12 tracks, but I think it went to 14 or 15 or something.
All right.
Yeah, great album.
There you go, Stone the Crows.
Brilliant song. Absolutely brilliant song. I mean, that's if you want it a bit more mellow, that's the one, isn't it? That song as well. Absolutely amazing song. Okay. We got in, Jam. You're number 10.
Wow. I've got Stone the Crowbar down.
Oh, hey! Wow. First match.
There you go.
Get in. Yes.
First match. Yeah, it's a very good start. I think these are another band I probably need to listen to a bit more. I think they played Download a few years ago, so I sort of did a best of, set list type thing to listen to some of their stuff, and I really liked them. But it's something I haven't listened to probably since. So I know Lee likes them, so they're probably definitely worth revisiting again. But I love this song off of the first album. I think a lot of the songs I really liked them, but they're sort of not so. What's the word? They're not so memorable as in the titles. They perhaps haven't got choruses, so I'd probably like the song. Just couldn't remember what they're called, that sort of thing. So I definitely need to revisit.
Yeah,
I've got a few more albums coming out. So
I think later on as well. I mean, I know we're going to get onto that, but again, I think they became more bluesy again later on as well for me. In the next couple of albums, they started with that bluesy stuff, but then they made some EPs recently that got back to that fucking real heavy sound. And I must say, I've seen Phil Anselmo in the news a lot lately. He seems to be doing a few interviews. I know he's doing some concerts and stuff. So after his little Nazi escapades, I think it
was all about white wine, man. It was all about white wine.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. So I think he's trying to maybe smooth things over, and he seems to be back in the news. And I'm hoping because it's meant to bring these EPs out, was meant to be like, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them, I think. And they got to 2 of them, which were some of their best work for me since this debut album. And
well, he's gotten to the stage now where he's got this band called The Illegals, Philip Anselmo and The Illegals, where they just do Pantera sets. So I think
that's what I'd like to see. Hopefully they come over to Download. That'd be good. I'd like to see that.
Yeah. Well, they just were announced for Bloodstock, so I think they're doing that next year rather than Download. That just got announced yesterday.
That'd be worth seeing. I know it ain't the band itself, but it might be worth seeing. Yeah, good one, mate. That's cool. Okay, you've got a match. I'm quite impressed. Okay, my number 10. So I'm going to Wasp.
Yeah,
not one of my favorite albums by them. Still not Black enough, but just for Blackie's vocals alone, it's a song called I Can't, which is just, he's got, I mean, if you ever want to hear someone pour like his soul into a song, it's got to be this one. I mean, it's just, it's not a song that really goes many places, but his voice, man, I mean, he just feels like he's going to just break down in this song. It does. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And not one that I heard back then either. So I think I might have had to revisit Wasp at some point, maybe for a show with you guys, or it might have been with Mark. I can't remember. But, you know, going back and listening, I think I said this was one of my favourite songs off this album. Just an amazing song. And I think you'd call it a ballad, but lyrically, maybe it stretches that a bit. But there you go.
It's a ballad, but it's not a love ballad.
Yeah. Oh, mate, he means every word of it. You believe every word of it. You really would. Amazing. This is when it's on his. Oh no, that other album is the one where he fucking had the nun on stage, didn't it?
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
The fuck album, whatever the fuck that is.
That's coming up in the next couple of years, I think. So
KFD, yeah.
But this is a great song. I don't think there's a better vocal on my whole list here as good as that one from Blackie. Wow. So there you go. Just made that for that alone. That's my track 10, guys. Right, we're on to track 11.
Track 11. Wow, almost there. Okay, track 11. Again, I'm keeping it real, boys. Slaughter.
Oh yeah, fucking hell.
Slaughter's 4th album, Fear No Evil. This is another one where they were dropped by Capitol. So it was released in Japan first, and it was only available in Japan for about a year. And then it finally got released in the States. But this song is Out of My Head, and it's just what you want from Slaughter. I'm not going to say they're not chasing any trends. That's for damn sure. But you know, if you love their sound, you love his vocals, and you love that Danish drum production with that really tight drums, and it's all here for you. So yeah, great, another great album from theirs. Obviously, didn't sell a lick, but you know, they keep going. All these bands kind of came together and they did package tours every summer and stuff. So that's kind of where they were making their money that they could use the rest of the year. I think just on like Rock Never Stops, and that was like a tour that was every year. Them and Vince and Warrant and all these other things, you know. So they were able to make a living barely, I think. But yeah, Fear No Evil by Slaughter. If you liked them before, maybe give it a listen.
Cheers, mate. No, but I don't think I ventured past the first album, to tell you the truth. That was just
even
me.
Wildlife. You didn't listen to Wildlife then.
I think I might have done, but I can't remember. I can't remember a lot about it. Obviously, they're the dark years for me, mate. So there you go.
Literally and figuratively.
Okay, what you got then, Jam?
Number 11. This is going to an album that Dom's mentioned, and one of our favourite bands again, and it's the Wild Hearts from the PHUQ album. Oh, fuck, and it's Naivety Play. I say we can't go on about too much how great the Wild Hearts are, but this is just a straightforward rocking song, sing along, as all Wild Hearts songs generally are, apart from one album that we might come to in a couple of years. And it's one they play fairly regularly live. I've seen it play it a few times. I don't know what Dom's doing.
Sorry, I just got to notice that my battery's dying.
Oh,
I had plenty of, so I don't know what's going on. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, that's it. No, that's what I say. We won't talk about the Wild Hearts anymore because there's still plenty of Wild Hearts to come. They're still going, so will be plenty more Wild Hearts to come. And Naivety Played, straightforward rocking song. Some great songs on this album. It's definitely another accessible one to listen to after their first album, I suggest. Yeah.
Great one, mate. They get a lot of love on here, the Wild Hearts. They do. It's good. It's good. Okay, my track 11. I've mentioned this band on their debut album. I don't think they've had that many albums out, actually, but this is one that I've had to do a bit of research for myself on this one because I knew that I liked the debut album, so I don't think I heard this album at all. And it's a band called Xeno. And it's the album called Xenology. So it's In Love with an Angel. So it's my second ballad in a row. All right. So, I mean, Zeno Roth, man. I mean, the late Zeno Roth. He was just obviously never quite well as known as his brother, Uli John Roth from Scorpions fame. But yeah, man, just as good in my opinion. Really inventive on the guitar. This one has some real sort of Queen feels to me. And a lot they do, he does a lot in his music anyway. But yeah, so this could have been the first time I might have heard this before, but you know, I was just looking for a track 11, and straight away this stood out to me. Brilliant ballad, so much emotion as well. I can't. This guy's guitar playing, I really can't. He's a real guitar player.
Right.
You know, I mean, you can imagine a lot of people in bands listen to him because he was so inventive with his guitar playing. But a brilliant song, In Love with an Angel, my number 11.
Right. I'm glad he was still doing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that first album, I think I mentioned back then, I was expecting a lot from that album, and he didn't really.
You said
do
he had
a
like
lot.
a support slot with Queen and stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it really suited it, to tell you the truth. You know, they did do something completely different. Yeah, great song, great band actually, but not together obviously anymore. Now Zeno's gone. Track 12. We're on track 12, guys.
The end.
The end.
The end.
Okay,
Oh.
we've got the ever reliable Thunder here. Third album, Behind Closed Doors. This is called It Happened in This Town. It's got a real kind of low life and high places kind of feel to it. Really great track. Love it. I have to say with these, you know, I can still put together a track 12 or 12 tracks, but the difference is there just isn't a lot of variety. Like this was my only track 12, really. and I love the song, don't get me wrong, but I mean, there wasn't like 5 of them, you know, that I could pick from. So thank you, Thunder, for providing me with a track 12 that I really love. Yeah, I don't know. Seems like this album was the start where people maybe weren't paying as much attention, but I guess we can all understand with the general environment that Thunder wasn't on everybody's lips at the moment, but it's a great album nonetheless, Behind Closed Doors. So there you go.
So cool though that they can play a festival like Download and be like the third from last band on the main stage, or whatever it was, maybe the fourth from last band, but you know, to be at that stage now on a Saturday, which I did see them a few years ago and they were amazing, by the way, but you know,
brilliant.
Brilliant. So that's quite amazing, isn't it? To think that bands like that who struggled through that time can now. Yeah,
well, there's something to be said for sticking to your guns and not becoming, as I said, just a heritage act. You know, I mean, they could probably not even release any more albums and just play stuff off the last 2 or the first 2, like some bands do. But no, they have a huge catalog of great stuff. So good for
them. Well, their new single's really good. That play Destruction, I think it's called, is really good. It's got a great riff in it. I don't know if you've heard it. Yeah.
Okay,
cool.
What you got rounding off then, mate?
My last one's a little bit sad, really, because it's the last time I'm ever going to be able to mention them because they're not alive anymore, and that's the Ramones from their last album, Adios Amigos, and it's She Talks to Rainbows. So it's a little bit sad, but not a great album particularly. I think Mondo Bizarro is one of their best ones, which is a previous one to this, but this is obviously the last one they did, and they knew it was going to be their last one because obviously they split. Well, they did a tour for it, but then they knew, obviously, I'm sure they were ill and they were going to split up and all that. So She Talks to Rainbow.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
See you later,
folks. Exactly. So I saw them on this tour as well, which was quite good because I saw them twice, and this is the second time, and it was good. And this song is just a straightforward rocking song. Like the last few Ramones albums weren't really punky at all. They got punky riffs. They're a little bit fast, I suppose. This song's more of a slower song, and it's a very, very good sing along song. And it's so it's a little bit sad. It's not a lot. Is it the last track on the album? There might be a 13th track, and there's a bonus track which is Ramones actually, but this might be the last track on the album, which sort of would be quite fitting actually. So. There you go. It's a good track to listen to if you like a bit of modern Ramones. There you go.
Cool. Well done, mate. Okay, my track 12 is from a really mellow band, really. Everyone sort of knows them, but sometimes people think they might not make this sort of show, but they do. They've had some rocking songs. It's Toto. I have actually had them on my list before. So this is from an album called Tambu. Obviously, at this stage and all, Toto was still putting out music, but I mean, nothing was going to be like Africa, was it? Like all over the charts, topping the charts for weeks on end. But they're another band that, for me, were quite inconsistent. If you listen to one of their albums back then, you know, I'd like some of it. But mind you, they were very experimental as well. They would do sort of funky stuff, then they'd do AOR stuff. You know, they would be all over the place. But this is again, obviously a ballad for me. But it's sort of like an excellent guitar solo in this. And it's a really emotional song. And this is one that I didn't know again. So I've had to go back and listen to it to find a track 12 and being pleasantly surprised. It really does sound like a huge song. and looking at the comments, you know, because you're looking for YouTube trying to find a song. It's really loved, this song. Do you know what I mean? A lot of fans saying it's one of their best ballads they've ever done. Never heard it before because it's just 95, wasn't it? I mean, what the fuck? But a great song. I mean, they're great musicians as well. Toto, like unbelievably clever musicians, and I think a lot of people might, you know, realize that they're a lot of the time they're used for session musicians there and stuff, and that people bring them in to play anything. They can play literally anything. And I think sometimes with session musicians, sometimes you lose the feeling of a band sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's probably where their downfall sometimes, but sometimes they would hit the nail on the head, and this was it. They really did it well on this. The Road Goes On by Toto. There you go. That's my track 12.
If I'm not mistaken, that's another album that I think that was Japan only for nearly a year, because I was working in record shops by this time, and I remember having really expensive imports of this until it got picked up somewhere. But yeah, for a long time you could only buy a Japanese version.
Mental, isn't it? Mental. So that's it. Excellent list, guys. We're going to go do some quick honorable mentions if you've actually got any for 95.
I do have a couple. It's mostly just albums again. So Kicks Show Business was a great album, again released on an independent after their major label run, but they didn't really lose a step. Really good. I will mention this, you know, I don't mention Queen very much on this channel just because by the time we're doing these shows, it wasn't their best work. But post Freddie's death, they did make a record called Made in Heaven, which was surprisingly cohesive. It was of leftover vocal takes, but apparently when Freddie knew he was going to die or he was dying in the process, he would put down as much as he could in the studio so they could make a record post-death. And that's what they did. And it's a very, very strong Queen album, so I have to give it to that. What do we have? Marillion, Afraid of Sunlight, probably one of my favorite Hogarth era records. They got a song called Cannibal Surf Babe, which I just love, but it didn't make it. And then the only other one I mentioned is UFO Walk on Water. Michael Schenker came back to UFO for a run in the 90s. I think they made 3 or 4 records. This is the first one. Good record. Good to hear Schenker back with Phil Mogg's voice and stuff, but just didn't make it on the list.
Cool. Okay.
Cool. I've just got a few. Weirdly, I've got 3 track number 2s I could have had. There's a song by Reef called Naked from the Replenish album, which I really like. Song from Caius called One Inch Man from And the Circus Leaves Town. I really like that. And Monster Magnet did Negasonic Teenager Warhead from Dopes to Affinity, which is a great song. And I believe they named the X-Men character in Deadpool 2 from the song. I don't think it was the other way around, but I don't know if you've seen that. I think they named it after the song. Anyway, a few albums to mention. First Foo Fighters album come out. I like the Foo Fighters, unlike you guys, but not my favourite album. Black Sabbath, got to mention this from Mark. The infamous Forbidden, which had Ice-T rapping on it. Yeah, enough said. Opeth, Orchid, the first Opeth album, but they're very death metal at this point. Not my favourite album, although I like some of the stuff. So that'll be definitely in my list coming up. You mentioned those. Bon Jovi these days had a couple of good songs on it. Hey God, which I quite liked, and Something for the Pain. Another one for Mark, Rainbow, Stranger in Us All, with his favourite singer, Doogie White.
Second favourite.
Oh, sorry, second favourite. Yeah. Skid Row had Subhuman Race, which I've never listened to, but not supposed to be very good.
Yeah. I've actually listened to that. I've tried to get into that album. I think I've listened to it probably about 4 times. Trying. It's just like it hasn't got a chorus.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it hasn't got anything catchy about it whatsoever. I don't get that album. I really don't. It's just shit.
I went to see it's a good gig actually. It was just not long before lockdown. It was Skid Row, obviously with a ZP Hart, this singer now, the one he was in what are they called? Dragon Force. He's the singer now. He's a brilliant singer. He's the singer, and obviously the rest of Skid Row. And they did some good stuff. And they did mostly off the first 2 albums, you can imagine. And they did some off their couple of the new EPs they done, but it's most of the album. They didn't play a single thing off this. Not surprising. There you go. Then quickly, Van Halen Balance come out. Not particularly fan of that. And their first Rammstein album's out at this point as well. So, yeah.
Do you really have to mention balance? Is that really something?
Some people might like Van Hagar.
You've mentioned most of the things that I was going to mention. So the only Sabotage had Dead Winter Dead out that year. I had a few tracks, my favorite ones written down, but they just didn't fall into the track listing.
The thing I will mention about Dead Winter Dead is the very last song is that Christmas song, and that's where that all started.
Trans-Siberian
Orchestra. Yeah. Christmas Eve or something, the last track on there.
Yeah. I did notice when I was looking at the track listing. Yeah.
It all blew up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good for them. Fucking mate, they do some huge concerts now, don't they? So so Sabotage, Dead Winter Dead, Y&T, Musically Incorrect, which wasn't one of my favorite albums from them. I preferred their like 80s stuff. The Storm had Eye of the Storm out, that band, that sort of super group.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, what I've been trying to do is listen to the albums or list the songs that are my best. I've got sort of a new way of doing this now. It's hard to explain, but I had track 1 and 4 as the ones that I would have wanted, and then it just didn't quite work out. And I had Silverchair as well. I had that written down, so that's cool. But yeah, not a lot. Oh, I better mention Rainbow as well, wouldn't I? Because Mark, what's his name again? The singer?
Doogie White.
Doogie White. Yeah, I mean,
you say Doogie like boogie.
Doogie. I did. Doogie. What is it? Doogie. It ain't Doogie,
Boogie.
is it? It's
Boogie.
Doogie.
Yeah, I love it.
That's how it's spelled. Double O. Doogie, isn't it? It's like when you read a book, isn't it?
Boo.
Anyway.
Boogie.
So yeah, 1995. So it was still good. 96, we've decided between ourselves to go to 10 tracks. So I did have 12, but I wasn't happy. It wasn't a strong 12 to tell you the truth. So
exactly.
when you guys said 10, I was sort of happy with that, and then I could switch things around a little bit. So we'll be coming at you next week at some point with that. But it's still popular, this show. 100 and something for the last show, and I really thought it would dip under, to tell you the truth.
Well, it's our personalities that does it, I guess.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And the way I say boogie now, obviously, is that everyone's waiting for that, obviously, even though it's normal, even though Dom's the odd one out that thinks it's weird, but it's not.
Of course. Yeah, no. And of course, we got a guitaring or two in this episode. So
yes.
It's all the important things. I don't know why we don't get 50,000 views like some of these other idiots that are on video. We're as good, if not better.
Someone will nick this idea from you, Jam, and there'll be some other show will do it, and it will get 50,000 views, and then we can do them for copyright, can't we?
Yeah, we'll sue them.
We'll sue them for sure. Right.
You're like listening to some of your ballads, Lee.
Yeah, that make me feel better, doesn't it? All right, okay, guys, thanks for joining me. As always, it's been excellent, such a laugh, and we'll see you next time. Of course, subscribers.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate it.
And keep them lists coming, because we love the lists, and we know what hard work it is, like I've said before.
Yeah, so it is. Good to see everyone joining.
All right, then, guys, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Cheers.